What if the dead could still dial your number? Not metaphorically, not in a dream, but on a real phone with a real signal, sending a real call straight to your pocket in the middle of the night. You'd think it was a mistake, a glitch, a prank. You'd tell yourself there's a rational explanation, because the alternative is something your mind refuses to process. These are 3 stories from 3 men who picked up the phone and heard something they were never, ever supposed to hear. Their names have been changed, their words have not. Stay with me, because once you hear these calls, you'll never answer an unknown number the same way again. My father died on a Tuesday. Massive heart attack. No warning. He was 61 years old, still working, still cracking bad jokes at dinner, still texting me random pictures of his garden. And then, in the time it takes to sneeze, he was just gone. I flew home from Seattle the next morning. I remember sitting in the airport at 4 a.m., staring at the departure board, thinking this couldn't be real. My dad was one of those guys who felt permanent, you know, like he'd always just be there. We buried him that Friday. After the service, after everyone went home, I sat alone in my parents' house. My mom had gone to my aunt's place, and I just sat there in his chair, in his living room, surrounded by all his stuff. His reading glasses on the coffee table, his half-finished crossword puzzle, his coffee mug still in the drying rack. I must have fallen asleep there because I woke up to my phone buzzing on the armrest beside me. It was 2:47 a.m. I looked at the screen, expecting spam, expecting nothing, and I felt the entire world tilt sideways. The caller ID said, "Dad." My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped the phone. I told myself it was a tech glitch. His phone was probably still active. Someone must have accidentally called me from it. My mom, my uncle, someone. But I picked up. Of course I picked up. There was static at first. Not the clean digital static you sometimes get on a bad connection. This was something older, deeper, like the sound of a place that has no sound. And then, breathing. Slow, measured, like someone who was very, very tired. "Dad?" I whispered. Silence. More breathing. And then a voice. His voice. I would know it anywhere, even through a wall, even through years. It was unmistakably my father. He said, "Marcus, the crossword, 3rd row." That was it. The line went dead. I sat there completely frozen for what felt like an hour, but was probably 30 seconds. Then, on autopilot, I walked to the coffee table. I picked up his half-finished crossword puzzle. My hands were trembling so hard, the paper was shaking. 3rd row, 5 letters. The clue said, "A final goodbye." The answer, written in my father's handwriting, pressed so hard the pen had almost torn through, was the word "loved." He'd filled it in. Before he died? Or after? I don't know. I will never know. I sat back down in his chair and I cried until the sun came up. Not from fear, from something I don't have a word for. Something between grief and gratitude and wonder. His phone was found in his nightstand drawer the next morning, completely dead, battery drained to 0. The call lasted 43 seconds. My phone records confirmed it. To this day, I don't know what happened, but I know what I heard, and I know that my father, wherever he went, he found a way, one more time, to make sure I knew. Before I get into this, I want to say something. I am not a superstitious person. I'm an engineer. I believe in systems, in logic, in things that can be measured and explained. I am telling you this because what I'm about to describe has no logical explanation, and that terrifies me more than anything in my life ever has. My best friend Rory died in a car accident 18 months ago. He was 26. A truck ran a red light at 11:30 on a Wednesday night. Gone. Just like that. Rory was the kind of guy who never shut up. Constant voice messages, constant memes, constant 2-minute audio clips about absolutely nothing, what he ate for lunch, a weird thing he saw on his commute, a conspiracy theory about why the moon looked strange. He was relentless, and I loved him for it. After he died, I couldn't delete his messages. I know a lot of people do that, can't bring themselves to erase the last trace of someone's voice. I kept them all. 47 voice messages, going back almost 2 years. I'd listen to them sometimes, late at night, just to hear him talk. 3 months after the accident, I was having a particularly bad night, couldn't sleep, kept replaying the phone call where his sister told me what happened. I opened my voicemail app and started listening to Rory's old messages, laughing and crying at the same time, the way you do. I got to message 43 and pressed play. It was new. I mean, I'd listened to all 47 messages dozens of times. I had them practically memorized, but this one I had never heard before. The timestamp said it had been received at 11:31 p.m. on the night of the accident, 1 minute after the truck hit him. I stopped breathing. Rory's voice came through, and unlike all his other messages, casual, rambling, loud, this one was different. Quiet, calm, like he was talking from somewhere very far away. He said, "Hey man, just wanted to call before the signal goes. I'm good. I promise I'm good. Tell my sister not to be sad, and stop leaving your dishes in the sink, because when I come back to haunt you, that's the first thing I'm going to complain about." He laughed. It was his real laugh, the one I'd know anywhere. And then, "See you later, brother. Not too soon, though. You've got stuff to do." The message ended. I played it 6 times in a row just to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. I recorded it on a second phone. I sent the recording to her sister. She called me back 20 minutes later, and all she said was, "That's him. That's really him." We've never talked about it much since then. Some things are too big for words. The voicemail is still on my phone. I've never deleted it. I never will. But here's the thing that keeps me up at night, even now. The thing I never told his sister. At the very, very end of the message, just before it cut off, there's a sound. Quiet, almost swallowed by the static. It sounds like a door opening, and then footsteps walking away. I need to start by telling you that I almost didn't share this, because unlike the other stories you might hear, mine doesn't end with comfort. Mine doesn't end with closure. Mine ends with a question I am still trying to answer, and a warning I think you need to hear. It was an ordinary Saturday in October. My wife had taken the kids to her mother's for the weekend. I was home alone, which I was actually looking forward to. A little peace, a little quiet, maybe catch up on some work. At 3:14 in the morning, my phone rang. I was half asleep. I grabbed it without looking, fully expecting a wrong number, maybe a drunk dial, something harmless. "Hello?" I said. A woman's voice, young, trembling. She sounded absolutely terrified. "Please," she said, "I don't have much time. You have to listen to me." I was awake now, wide awake. "Who is this?" I asked. "There's no time for that. You need to get out of the house, right now, tonight. You need to take your family and leave." My blood ran cold. "My family isn't here," I said stupidly. "I know," she said, and the way she said it, calm, deliberate, made every hair on my body stand up. "That's the only reason I can tell you this. They were supposed to be there. They were supposed to be home tonight." I was frozen. "What are you talking about?" Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. "I saw what happens. I can't change it. I tried, but I could call. I found a way to call. You need to leave, and you need to call your wife and tell her to stay where she is until Monday. Promise me." "Who are you?" I demanded. A long pause. Static. That same deep old static I've heard described before and never want to hear again. "I lived there," she said quietly. "In your house. Before you. A long time before you." The line crackled. "I'm sorry I couldn't do more. Please, just go." The call ended. I sat on the edge of my bed, heart pounding, and I thought about rational explanations, a prank, a mental health crisis, a wrong number. But then I thought about the way she said, "I know," when I told her my family wasn't home. That wasn't a lucky guess, that was knowledge. I called my wife. I told her to stay at her mother's until Monday. She thought I was being weird, but she agreed. Then I did something I still can't fully explain. I got dressed, packed a bag, and I booked into a motel 4 miles away. On Sunday morning, my neighbor called me. A gas line had ruptured beneath my house sometime during the night. The whole street smelled like sulfur when the sun came up. The fire department said if there had been anyone inside, or if anyone had turned on a light switch, or used the stove, or sparked a match, the entire house could have gone up. They found the fault in a pipe that was apparently original to the house, old, very old. They said it had probably been waiting to go for years. I looked up the history of my house when I got back. It was built in 1931. 6 families had lived there. The third family, in the early 1950s, lost a daughter. She was 22 years old. An accident, the record said. House fire. Her name was Eleanor. I have never found a record of that call in my phone. No number, no duration, no timestamp. Sometimes I pick up my phone and just hold it, thinking about a young woman who has been dead for 70 years, who somehow found a way to reach through whatever divide separates us, just to make sure a stranger and his family were safe. I hope she found her peace. I hope she knows she saved us, but I still cannot explain how she called. I cannot explain what she knew, and on cold nights, when the house settles and something creaks in the dark, I think about what she said. I tried, but I could call. She tried to stop it, for someone, somehow, a long time ago. She failed, but she didn't stop trying.
These 3 men didn't ask for what happened to them. They didn't seek out the paranormal or sit in circles summoning spirits. They were just living their lives, grieving, sleeping, existing, when the other side decided to reach out. And each time, a phone rang. Now I want to ask you something, and I want you to sit with it before you go to sleep tonight. Have you ever gotten a call from a number you didn't recognize? A call you let go to voicemail or dismissed as spam? Have you ever listened to a silent voicemail, just dead air and static, and wondered for just a second if something was trying to tell you something? Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it always is. But Marcus, Daniel, and James thought the same thing, right up until the moment they didn't. Stay safe, lock your doors, and maybe, just maybe, don't ignore unknown numbers tonight. If something out there is trying to reach you, it might not get a second chance to call.